Is this recording? Yes. Hello, welcome to my video answer on whether I believe it is okay that Nora left her family at the end of A Doll's House. This is my second try because the one on my phone won't upload anywhere. And I'll try to keep this short. It was 11 minutes on my phone. I know it's supposed to be 5. I don't think she should have left because I feel like she's entitled and she acts like a child. Even though her problem is everyone treats her like a child, she does it the whole movie. Um, let's start with this first quote here. Right at the beginning of the movie, Torvald goes, we're talking about Nora overspending for Christmas, and Torvald goes, "Yes, indeed, and my first salary in April." Nora, but can we borrow now that we? But we can borrow now that we know. Torvald goes, "Of course we could." And after Christmas, I'm walking down the streets, and a falling tile splits my head open. Nora goes, "Torvald, if anything as awful as that were to happen, I wouldn't care if I was in debt or not." Torvald, "And the people I borrowed from, Nora? Who cares about them? They're strangers." Torvald goes, "Like a woman." And while this is a misogynistic comment, that that is generally what Torvald defers to is being misogynistic, but his issue is more Nora's inability to kind of grasp the value of money and their potential lack of it. They did just come out of a financial hardship not too long ago, so this isn't something that Nora should be having a hard time understanding. Um, but she's just enamored with the potential of them moving up in life. She's excited what that could mean for her. She's so excited to brag about that to Mrs. Lynn the instant they reunite. Um, and I've noted in my notes here, Nora immediately sulks after this conversation with Torvald until Torvald decides to give her cash out of his own pocket. So Nora gets what she wants, um, which would explain her sense of entitlement, I feel. Uh, Later on, when she's talking to Mrs. Lynn asks him in reference to the whole blackmail situation. Well, her secretly getting money, no one knows at this point yet. Mrs. Lynn goes, "Will you never tell him?" Nora goes, "Yes, sometime perhaps, years from now when I'm no longer pretty, and when he no longer loves me in the same way. Yes, as a matter of fact, it would be rather useful to have something up my sleeve. Oh, how absurd, that time will never come." Um, I took this quote down because the only scenario where Nora sees herself being honest with Torvald is in some situation later down the line where she needs to hold something over him. Blackmail. Um, but she knows she's never going to tell him. As far as she's concerned, Torvald will die never knowing about this. Um, Later on, Nora says, "Oh, speaking to my dear fellow Krogstad," she says to Krogstad, "Now that he should hear about it from you, oh, it would involve me in the most dreadful unpleasantness." And Krogstad goes, "Only unpleasantness?" Up to this point, Nora is only worried about how this is going to affect her and how this is going to make her look and what Torvald is going to think of her. She's never really thought about facing consequences for this. She's never thought about the potential of prison. Um, as far as she was concerned, this is just something, a whim, a gone. She's not concerned about it at all. It's not keeping her up at night. Um, she's not worried. She hasn't even thought like, how could this affect my children? How could this affect Anne Marie? How could this affect Torvald? She just is like, oh no, this is going to make me look so bad. It isn't really until Torvald says something to her later on where she really starts to think about how all this affects people around her, like her children, for instance. Um, Torvald says to her, "Nearly all young criminals are the children of feckless mothers," and she just completely recontextualizes everything for her. She feels bad. She feels like her father's sin is being inherited to her and passed down to her children now through these actions. Um, she's very self-centered. Everything revolves around her and how it will affect her and make her look. Um, Later on, she's talking to Anne Marie, who's like a mother figure to her. This is another reason I don't think she should leave, is because she just abandons Anne Marie, which is crazy to me. Nora says, "How did you bear to give up your child to strangers?" She's kind of, I guess, reflecting on the idea of when I was watching the movie, I kind of thought she was planning to run away earlier. I kind of thought like she got the idea in her head earlier, but she's probably talking about going to prison, perhaps. Um, and Anne-Marie mentions how she was kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. She goes, "So I came to nurse my dearest Nora." Nora goes, "You're so good to me, like a mother." Anne-Marie says, "What else should I be?" Um, Nora then asks Anne Marie if she would take her children if she was not around. Um, and this is all done while she's avoiding her children. Right before this, her children had asked to see their mother. I don't really feel like Nora is considering this limited time she might have left with her children. Um, she is kind of just asking if Anne Marie would take care of her children if she wasn't around. I don't know. Uh, I feel she's not really taking into consideration Anne Marie's concerns. I mean, I think it would hurt Anne Marie if her surrogate daughter went to prison. Um, I don't know. I just don't feel this warmth or care she has for other people. It just doesn't happen. Um, and I do think Torvald cares about his wife, despite being misogynistic to an extent. I mean, he's a man in the 1800s. What do we really expect of Torvald here? Um, I can say though I do believe he loves his wife. I think I can deal with Torvald says. I think I can deal with any sort of crisis myself, entirely myself. And Nora goes, I will never let you do that. Torvald replies, very well. We'll share it, Nora, as man and wife. Torvald is trying to he's trying to comfort his wife, who he thinks is freaking out. The whole movie, I feel Torvald really is just like doting on his wife or appreciating her in some way or like fantasizing her about her even. And I also get the impression that they're comfortable and Nora likes this childlike dynamic she has with Torvald. It seems to bring her some comfort. I mean, she sulks until she gets what she wants from Torvald. Um, she dances around to entertain people, and I get the impression she kind of likes doing it. It really seems like she likes this childlike relationship she has with Torvald, as long as it's beneficial to her. The incident becomes not, she throws almost a temper tantrum. Um, Another quote that makes me believe that Torvald loves his wife is, sometimes I wish some kind of danger would threaten you, so I could sacrifice everything, even my life, for your sake. This is drunk Torvald. I mean, this is Torvald after the party with all the fancy champagne. This is Torvald laying everything on the line here. I really have to question how powerless Nora really is in this story. Considering she steals from her father, she makes Krogstad complicit in her crime. She gets him to go along with it. I mean, he's already an offender. He's really risking everything with this. Um, he gets the money from Torvald immediately after complaining about money. Um, her friend arrives in town, Mrs. Lind, and instantly she's like, Torvald, give her a job. And Torvald was like, whatever, I'll just fire somebody on a whim. Um, and really the only reference Mrs. Lind has is his wife, so it's really totally on her. Um, he even is kept away from his work despite taking over the bank in a couple of days. He's very worried about this. He's working. Um, but he spends the whole night helping Nora get ready for her practice her dance. Basically, I mean, this man does what his wife asks over and over. The whole movie, he just keeps doing what she asks. I mean, this just seems like their relationship. I don't know. I don't want to just defend Torvald. I mean, he is kind of a jerk at times, but it really doesn't seem like Nora is justified in just leaving at the end. I mean, it really feels like she gets caught in her lie and it gets resolved outside of her power. And I really feel like that sets her off. I don't feel Nora is as powerless as she lets on. The whole movie, she seems to have some sort of influence over Torvald, or at least power to like. She saved his life apparently by getting what was his name, Krogstad, to help her forge his signature, or turn a blind eye, whatever. She has power the whole film. It's really at the end when the problem is resolved without her and her power is useless that she throws a temper tantrum and leaves. I mean, she not only abandons Torvald, right? Or for devil's advocate, let's say her and Torvald's relationship is over. She doesn't love him. That's fair. She's still abandoning Anne Marie, who was her mother figure and has been. I mean, Anne Marie raised her instead of her children, basically, or her child. Her children. who I feel she does not care very much about. I mean, really, truly. Uh, the idea of leaving them is such like a foreign, like wrong thing. I mean, then even like she kind of just dumps them on Anne Marie. I really feel she just dumps them on Anne Marie. And then, I mean, we're not even gonna get into the stuff about the doctor because I feel she treats him very coldly, also, despite him being nothing but not. I felt nice. Um, I'm not gonna say her marriage is perfect. I'm not gonna say that her life is great or that her circumstances are great. But I mean, she's a at least middle class. I want to say upper class woman in the 1800s, living in a comfortable home with servants and like people to take care of her children. I really don't know. Her life is so awful, and she does have some power over her husband. Um, I don't think she's justified. I'm at 11 minutes again.